Bye-bye year 22 and welcome to 2023. I had meant to do a end of 2022 wrap up and review video, but we actually scheduled the double whammy COVID and flu vaccine for just days before, and that left me kind of wiped out. So I had a very low-key end of the year, and now I'm feeling much better, so it's about time to do a little bit of a review, a bit belatedly, but that's quite all right. So 2022 was an interesting year, a year that a lot got done, and also kind of a tough year in many respects. Health-wise, I wound up finally getting COVID. I think that I probably got it going to Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design's exhibit night, where we faculty got to go in. The seniors do their senior thesis, which is a really, really big deal at MIAD. And, their family is there for preview night. And then, of course, we professors get to go in and check out all of our students' work and, see the cool things that they did. But it's a lot of people coming in from out of town and, gathered together in some pretty small spaces. So I'm pretty sure that's where I got it. And it was no joke. Fortunately, I didn't have to be hospitalized or anything. But, man, it took all the chronic pain that I have and, turned it up to 11 in my joints and muscles. And there was the coughing and the sneezing and all the other stuff. And worst of all, I gave my child, Kat, COVID as well, and she wound up being isolated at University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. So end of the semester kind of sucked, for both of us. Not a lot of fun. Another big thing that happened that was kind of a damper was in April, actually just weeks before I got COVID. And it's kind of fortunate in a way, as my wife has pointed out. The last of our four-legged family, Sassy, a.k.a. Sassy Pants, the Sassinator, she's got many other names. She, at 19 years old, got, sick. She'd always been kind of going up and down for the last few years. She'd lose a lot of weight and then gain it back, or seemed like she was getting sick. But this time, she actually got sick for the final time. And, over the course of 3 or 4 days, I was spending a lot of my time with her. She stopped being able to eat and drink effectively, and her body just gave out. And it was very sad, but, she died here at home, surrounded by me and Andy, telling her how much that we loved her, looking into each other's eyes. And, she was my constant companion, and I was hers, especially since the COVID epidemic, right? So that was quite hard as well, and I miss her every day, especially when I go downstairs and make myself some coffee and get some food ready that I would usually take in and give her a little snack and pets and stuff like that. So those are some somber parts of the year. It was also kind of a big year for teaching, not as heavy as some years in the past where I've taught as much as 15 classes in a calendar year. But I did still teach quite a bit. Academic classes, I taught 8 this last year. 5 of them for Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design. I actually took over a class early on in the semester for a colleague of mine who had to go for medical reasons, so I took over his upper-level senior writing class and saw them through to the very end. That meant that I only taught 1 class last semester because you can only teach 5 as an adjunct professor there. I also finished up teaching for Carthage College in the spring, teaching a medieval philosophy class, and then we parted ways, and their philosophy department is completely phased out. The major is gone. So there's a whole story there that could be told about how they did that. And I'm no longer teaching business ethics for them either, in part because there's a new chair who insisted that all the classes should be face-to-face. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going down to Kenosha for that. I also got this fall asked to teach 3 classes for Marquette University, where I've taught in the past. And 2 of them were this upper-level core class that I situated around the topic of anger, and then one was Foundations of Philosophy, which is sort of like intro to philosophy, just with a few extra bells and whistles that were added by a committee. And so I did a lot of academic teaching, which meant a lot of grading, a lot of interacting with students and colleagues and stuff like that. And I also worked with a company called Lighthall, which at the time seemed like a very good opportunity. They've subsequently pivoted and changed their orientation, so it's less of a great fit for philosophy at this point in time. But I taught a class on Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, the Moral Virtues, an 8-week class, and a 6-week class that just finished up in December on Plato's Dialogues. And we're going to recycle those classes again in 2023 and offer them in the Study with Sadler Academy. So if you're hearing that and you're like, oh, I wish I could have gotten in on those classes, you'll have an opportunity for that. So a lot of teaching, a lot of developing resources, and that was kind of cool. Some of those resources I'll talk about in the stuff about videos. But before that, what else went on in 2022? Well, I got to do a lot more exercise. During COVID, at the very beginning, I started, I couldn't go to the gym for a long time. So I would take walks all around the city. You might have seen some of the photos that I've taken over the recent years in these different neighborhoods around here that I walk around in. And I've gotten to know the city, at least this part of it, pretty well. So I know like where I want to go and what's blooming at what time, and where the cool places are, and what to avoid as well. So I do take some long walks, and I've done that over the course of the year. But I also did get back to the gym and started doing weight circuit training. Sometimes less regularly, sometimes more. COVID really put a big kink into that because I did suffer some effects, lasting past the initial infection, making me a bit more tired when I would exercise and, things along those lines. But overall, it's been pretty good. I've over the last year, I've lost about 30 pounds, and it's not actually like losing 30 pounds completely, because what ended up happening is a net loss of 30 pounds, which means a lot of fat got lost, or burned off rather. And then I added some muscle, which is good as well. And the muscle is good for keeping the fat off, right? Because muscle demands more energy to keep itself going. It's kind of a virtuous cycle. And, getting back into the gym, there have been some ups and downs, so some of it involves some mental adjustment. There's like, you get to a certain level with the weights, you've been making some gains, and then, you can't go for a while, then you got to start out at a lower level. Well, that takes some mental readjustment, which is good for me as well. And then what else? It's been quite an active year as far as tutorials. I picked up a number of new clients, and, doing philosophical counseling with some clients. Some academic coaching here and there. Got brought in on, quite a few projects here and there as well. So that's good. And, this might actually be the year that I start getting my act together as far as marketing goes. I'm very fortunate in that so far everybody's sought me out. I haven't advertised or marketed or anything like that. And I've had a pretty steady flow of clients coming to me to work on interesting and challenging matters using the resources of philosophy. What else? So, I'm a team member of the Modern Stoicism organization, and I helped along with my wife and a few other people to organize the annual Stoicon conference, which went quite well. We actually had almost no problems in the course of the conference, which is almost unheard of for something that's online. So, everybody showed up where they were supposed to. We didn't have any terrible tiffs or technology failures or anything like that. So that was really awesome. We raised a good bit of money for the Modern Stoicism organization. Leah Goldrick and I also managed to bring out the fourth volume in Stoicism Today Selected Essays. We brought out volume 3 in 2021, and we brought out volume 4 this year. So that's really cool. Another edited volume, the proceeds of which go to the Modern Stoicism organization. So that was really quite awesome and lovely. And then what else? Oh, I stepped down as of the end of the year as the editor of Stoicism Today, a role that I took on in 2016. So, almost 7 years had passed, and I thought it was time to, move on and bring on some fresh new eyes and new blood. So my assistant editor and good friend and colleague, Harold Kavli, has moved up from assistant editor to full editor, and Judith Stove, who is also, a good friend and very competent at what she does and a great addition to the team, actually joined the Modern Stoicism team and came on as the assistant editor. So I'm happy leaving Stoicism Today in some really competent hands. And that'll give me a bit more time to do some of the work that I want to do as well. I got some writing work done. I've been working on taking the videos that I did, the commentary videos on Epictetus' Enchiridion, taking the transcripts from them, cleaning them up, editing them, and I'm turning them slowly into a book form. And I've released them in serial form to my Patreon supporters and in Medium. And eventually it's going to turn into, hopefully later on this year of 2023, into a new book that will, be helpful for people in studying this great short work of Stoic philosophy. Speaking of Medium, I managed to write 71 Medium posts in the last year, which is, pretty good. Not as much as I'd like to, but, got some writing done, which is nice. And I've got my 3 different publications: Heavy Metal Philosopher, Practical Rationality, and then Gregory Sadler, PhD. Publishing in all of those. I might start publishing in 2023 in some other places as well, but we'll see what happens. YouTube. I think most of you probably know me from YouTube, and it's not a surprise since you're watching this right on YouTube right now. So it was a pretty good year. 350 videos. So not a video a day, but pretty close. There's some days that I didn't release anything. Started some new things, some merch, offering memberships, started new video series like the Sadler's Quick Takes, and, kept going on with like Sadler's Stories and book reviews and all of that. And I did want to point out that 113 core concept videos. It's still nowhere near like full coverage of even just the history of Western philosophy, but we're filling in the gaps. So doing the medieval philosophy class was kind of good because I didn't have that much in that section. So I did more videos on Augustine and on Anselm, who, I had videos on already, but I got to churn out a lot more. And then there were 2 other medieval authors who I hadn't done. Prudentius, this early Latin poet, early medieval, his Psychomachia, and Alcuin, who I've been a fan of for quite a long time, this great Benedictine scholar associated with Charlemagne and the Carolingian Renaissance. So I did one of his works as well. And a bunch of others. I mean, I just recently finished up a sequence on David Hume's Inquiry Concerning Human Understanding. All sorts of other cool stuff along the way. Doing the anger classes gave me an opportunity to do some work on, Aristotle and Plutarch and Seneca, and also, contemporary figures like Audre Lorde, her work, The Uses of Anger. So lots and lots of core concept videos. It wasn't a great year for half-hour Hegel. I did manage to get 23 new commentary videos done. And we're almost at the very end of the religion section of Hegel's phenomenology. So the end is in sight. We've just got one more video to do in that, and then we're into absolute knowing. What else? Worlds of Speculative Fiction. We kept up the new format. I did 9 sessions in that, plus one special interview with the author of Dare to Know, James Kennedy, which was kind of cool to do. What else? The Wisdom for Life radio show. We're now making less headway. It used to be every 2 weeks we'd put out a new episode. This year we did 13 episodes, so really about one a month. But, it's still doing quite good. I think that this coming year we'll probably get back to doing one every 2 weeks. Who knows? Maybe we'll even step it up to new episode every week. So if you like, community radio that you can listen to online everywhere, and you're into philosophy, you probably want to check out the Wisdom for Life show. And what else did we do? Well, the Sadler's Lectures podcast, which I make from core concept videos, I managed to release 270 podcast episodes. So, definitely not one a day, but, that's quite a lot. So that's pretty cool. We passed up the 800 episode mark. Oh, I should point out too, with YouTube, I think that I passed the 100,000 subscriber mark in 2021, but they sent me the special, silver YouTube play button plaque in 2022, when I think I had around like maybe 115,000 subscribers. So it was a little bit later on, but kind of cool, to see that. I do have some other stats about YouTube videos. So 1.8 million views this year of the videos that I've done, which is, for a low-tech, philosophy-oriented channel, pretty good. Here's something kind of mind-boggling. So 255,000 hours watched. Now, I put that into the calculator, and, 24 hours in a day and 365 days in a year. So that means in the last year, the videos that I've produced have been watched for 29.14 years worth. That's pretty incredible. A lot of, what would you call it? Return on investment, at least in terms of time, right? So that's pretty cool. It's getting to see that they're getting traction, they're getting used, they're getting viewed. It's not just the views themselves, but the fact that people are watching them or are listening to them for hours and hours and using them as resources. So I'm very happy about that. And, I'm going to continue producing videos for the foreseeable future. I mean, probably at least another decade. Hopefully YouTube stays as a stable platform and doesn't go away. If it does, I've got most of the videos backed up on hard drives here and there. What else? It was a good year for guest appearances and talks. I got invited to quite a few that were Stoicism related, including a Stoicism Midwest that I was the only Midwesterner actually attending. A lot of other cool things as well over the course of the year. We, went back to doing the Philosophers in the Midst of History series. There was a little interruption. We didn't get to do the episode or the session on Bonaventure because I had COVID, right? But we're going to do that this coming year. So if you're into Franciscans, you might want to tune in or even show up. And we had a lot of other great events as well, all sorts of things coming onto podcasts and shows and, giving talks, invited here and there. So that was a lot of fun. And what else should I mention? Well, it's been a year of a lot of cooking and family and, reading and writing and all of these sorts of things that are quite important. Our city here is growing and developing, and despite the attempts by some of the legislators in Wisconsin to choke the crap out of it, it's doing pretty well. We elected a new mayor who is helming things quite well, and all sorts of other good things happening in this region as well. So 2022 has been kind of a mixed year, but I would say at least for me and my immediate family, overall a pretty good year. And so I hope that your 2022 was good for you, and look forward to hearing what you have to say about the year and about the different things that I just mentioned or that you want to know more about. And I'll see all of you, hopefully, down the line somewhere, either in the ether, the internet, the interwebs, or maybe even face-to-face this year of 2023.